Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. It's Jamar from Vegas Scents, and in this video I'm going over two new releases from the house of Zara that I think are really interesting, and I want to go ahead and share those with all of you all. Alright, so if you're interested in that, do me a favor, go ahead and stick around for the rest of the video. Also, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, and to anyone watching, leave a like and a comment on the video. Alright, so these two fragrances, again, like I said, are from the house of Zara. These are going to be Tender Amber from Zara, as well as Tobacco Sublime. All right. And so the packaging for these are really simplistic, really minimalistic. You do have the names of the fragrances here on the fronts of the box, and nothing on the tops. On the bottom, you've got like the UPC code and stuff like that. And then you've got nothing on the sides of these. It's just a white box. Then pretty much on the back, you have the price of the two fragrances as well as quotes. All right. And I believe the quotes are actually from like the perfumers that actually created these particular fragrances. So for the Tobacco Sublime, it says, wrapped in refined vanilla and tobacco sublime, a trail of sensuality amplified by amber woods. And this is created by Jordi Fernandez. Also, the Tender Amber, this one is, feel the gentleness and refinement of inviting ambery embrace. And this is created by Gael Montero. All right. So again, like I said, really simplistic in terms of the presentation. Once you slide these out, this is the actual box. The black part is just a sleeve. And then you've got the notes written on the back of each one of these boxes. All right. So the notes for Tender Amber are tropical fruits, blackcurrant, amber, cedar wood, vanilla, and sandalwood. And then for the Tobacco Sublime, it is bergamot, sage, pepper, iris, patchouli, vanilla, amber, and tobacco. All right. So that is the presentation for both of these. And then in terms of the bottles, this is what the bottles look like. So they're, again, really simplistic, really minimalistic. These are refillable bottles, so that's a pretty good thing. And then you've got the sticker on the front of the bottle with the name of it, and then you've got like really tiny sort of transparent writing at the bottom. I don't know if the camera is picking that up or not, but nothing really to see on the bottom of this fragrance. All right. Now, in terms of what these two fragrances smell like, each one of these do actually smell like fragrances that I already have in my collection. Now, I don't necessarily think that these are necessarily like clones of fragrances. I think they're sort of like inspired by other fragrances, or they have like some, really stark similarities to other fragrances. So just starting with the Tender Amber, in my opinion, the Tender Amber is definitely within that sort of, scent profile or family as like Herba Pura or Ana Abiad, which is what I actually have in my collection. It doesn't smell exactly the same though, and I'm actually glad that it doesn't, because there's already tons of, sort of Herba Pura clones out here on the market. But I think this one is still definitely, it's different. So in terms of the way that the Tender Amber smells, it does start off with like a really sort of juicy citrus sort of accord. It smells like it's a combination of a few different fruits. At least to my nose, it kind of comes off as having like mandarin orange, lemon, I want to say bergamot and black currant are like the main sort of fruits that I pick up from this particular fragrance when it first opens up. And I would say that when comparing it with the Ana Abied, this is not as strong as what Ana Abied is. So it's not like that sort of super sweet, musky, vanillic like bomb that you get with Ana Abied. This is not like that. This is more so kind of like I said, a juicy sort of fruit smell. Less musky, less vanillic, and more sort of kind of aromatic. I would say in the opening also, this also has a slightly sort of aquatic type of feel to it as well, which in my opinion overall makes this a much more sort of unisex and more versatile sort of take on like that sort of Herba Pura scent profile. So I think if you're a guy that has smelled Herba Pura and you think that it's just too sweet, too strong for you to, wear, I think that this is definitely, it's still going to be one that you may want to check out, because it does sort of have, like that, same sort of fruitiness to it, but it's not as intense. And it's not as like, sort of sickeningly sweet as what the Ana Abied or, Herba Pura scent profile comes off as. So once this starts to dry down, it does start to, lean more so into kind of like that vanilla note that you get from Herba Pura, or, the Ana Abied. It does start to become a little bit sweeter as it starts to dry down, but it never, in my opinion, gets anywhere near as sweet, as musky, and as dense, I would say, as what this fragrance does. All right. This maintains, even though it starts to become a little bit more sweeter as it dries down, it still sort of maintains that, fruity aquaticness that it had, when it first gets sprayed on. And, like I said, again, it's not as musky as what this is. All right. So again, I would say definitely check this one out. The performance is also pretty good on this one as well. Even though this one doesn't project like super loudly the way that this does, I still get pretty decent projection out of this one. At least for probably about the first 2 hours. It projects at least about, I would say, maybe 2 to 3 feet or so. So pretty average. And in terms of just overall longevity, this is a 12 plus hour fragrance on skin. So really, really nice when it comes to, the performance on this one. All right. So again, if you like the way that Herba Pura, sort of scent profile smells, but you don't necessarily like the fact that it's like super sweet, super musky, and you want something that's, maybe a little bit more sort of unisex, then I would say absolutely check this one out, and you'll like it, I believe. All right. So that one is Tender Amber. And moving on here to Tobacco Sublime. Tobacco Sublime, this was definitely a fragrance that, when I smelled it, it was a lot different than, what I was expecting. I was definitely expecting a more, kind of dense and heavier, sort of, scent, especially with this being a tobacco scent. And this comes off a lot more sort of fresher than, what you would think. With the notes on this one, the notes on this are bergamot, sage, pepper, iris, patchouli, vanilla, amber, and tobacco. And definitely with that combination of like the bergamot and the sage, or I'm sorry, the bergamot and the pink pepper, at least pink pepper is what I get from this. The pepper in this doesn't smell like a black pepper, it smells like pink pepper to me. And those two notes give this a really nice sort of sweetness and sort of fruitiness in the opening. And once that iris starts to come in, it's not like a super powdery iris, but it does smell pretty clean. So you have the fruitiness from the opening, you have a slight sort of powdery and, sort of clean vibe from the iris in this. And then you have like in my opinion, it's like a sweet but yet dusty sort of tobacco that you get from this fragrance as well. And then you get sort of like that vanilla base in the fragrance that also sort of adds to the sweetness in this. And in my opinion, this definitely, the Tobacco Sublime, it comes off as being very similar to Dior Privé's Bois d'Argent. All right. So I would say these two fragrances, they definitely are in sort of like that same sort of scent profile or family of fragrances, in my opinion, which I think makes this fragrance a really nice pickup for like an office sort of scent. Now, the Bois d'Argent, at least from what I can tell, comes off as being stronger than what this does. But I would say this still is stronger than what this comes off as, which is the Bois Doré from Perfumerie Privée Zara. This is Paris Corner's clone of Bois d'Argent. So this is definitely weaker than the Tobacco Sublime, but the Tobacco Sublime, again, is a little bit weaker than what Bois d'Argent is. Also, Bois d'Argent, to my nose, when smelling it, side by side with the Tobacco Sublime, Bois d'Argent comes off as being a lot more sort of powdery with the iris. I would say more sort of floral leaning. It's not as sweet as what the Tobacco Sublime is. And then, again, definitely there is a sort of strength difference where, like, I would say the Bois d'Argent, it definitely projects louder than what the Tobacco Sublime does. But at the same time, Bois d'Argent isn't like a super loud fragrance. I just think that when comparing the two, this one is slightly more sort of tamed when it comes to projection than what the Bois d'Argent is. Now, again, with the projection on this one, the projection on this is going to be at least about 2 to 3 feet or so. So I would say it's about the same sort of projection that you get with the Tender Amber for the most part. And then in terms of the performance with this is going to be another really nice performing fragrance in terms of like the longevity. So longevity wise, this is going to be like a 10 to 12 plus hour fragrance. Sillage, really, really nice, at least, a few feet. I would say probably for about the first, probably 2.5 hours or so. And then you get, pretty decent projection for about that same time. All right. So again, I think this is a really, really nice pickup, for like a really sort of clean, but at the same time, really interesting sort of office scent. I think that this is really inoffensive, especially, for having like the note of tobacco in it. And I think that the iris in this is not too powdery to where it makes the fragrance smell, like super feminine leaning. All right. Or super floral. All right. So definitely, man, check these two out. I would honestly say that, based on the two fragrances that I'm comparing these two with, in terms of what I think that these smell like, I could honestly say that I would definitely reach for the Tender Amber over the Anna Abiad, definitely. And I would also reach for the Tobacco Sublime over the Bois Doré, just pretty much because it comes off as being stronger. And I do think that the iris note is more complex than what it is in the Bois Doré. And I would pick this over the Bois d'Argent because of that sort of added, vanilla that this one has, the tobacco, and then also sort of like that fruitiness that this has as well. All right. So these are two extremely solid pickups. For $29.90 a bottle for 100 ml, I think these are really, really nice. So I would absolutely recommend these to anyone, really. I would say that this one is going to be more so sort of unisex, in my opinion, the Tender Amber. Whereas I think that the Tobacco Sublime, it is unisex, but I would say that this is slightly more sort of masculine leaning, in my opinion. All right. So do with that information whatever you want. That's just my opinion. And again, I do recommend these two both. All right. So depending on how well this video does, I may also pick up the vetiver fragrance that's in this collection. This whole collection, it has 4 fragrances. It's these two, the vetiver fragrance, and then another one called Spilled Caramel. The Spilled Caramel, I may pick that one up if I'm able to go over to the Zara store at the Fashion Show Mall and actually smell that one in person. But I don't think that I'll be blind buying that one. But yeah, man, let me know if you want to know what the vetiver fragrance smells like in this collection. Let me know in the comments. And like I said, based on how well this video does, if it does pretty well, then I'll also pick up that vetiver fragrance as well. All right. So Matt, let me know, have you all smelled any of these fragrances within this particular collection from Zara? And what do you all think about the fragrances? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Are they just okay? Let me know in the comments. And once again, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And also to anyone watching, leave a like and a comment. And that's Jamar from Vegas Sense. I'll see you on the next video.